We know that the derivative of sine of x is cosine of x, and the derivative of cosine of x is negative sine of x. But what is the derivative of tangent of x? We know that tangent of x is sine of x divided by cosine of x. So that must be true for the derivative. So the derivative of tangent of x is the derivative of sine of x divided by cosine of x. So let's work this out. We've got from the quotient rule this one times the derivative of this one minus this one times the derivative of this one, and then divided by this one squared. So that's cosine times the derivative of sine minus sine times the derivative of cosine divided by cosine squared. Now we can work that out. That's going to be cosine of x times this is going to be cosine of x. We have to subtract sine of x times, well, the derivative of cosine of x is negative sine of x, and then divided by cosine squared of x. So we can make this better. So that's cosine squared of x from this. Then minus times minus is plus. Then sine squared divided by cosine squared of x. Now this one with a trigonometric identity will be 1. So that's 1 divided by cosine squared of x. Now we can write that as the secant squared of x, because secant of x is 1 divided by cosine of x. For cotangent, which is 1 divided by tangent, we use that definition and we say that this equals to the power of negative 1. And don't put a negative 1 over here, because that means the inverse tangent, and that's something different. Now we can use the chain rule. So first we get negative 1 times tangent of x to the power of negative 2. But we have to multiply by what is inside here, by the derivative of what is inside here, and that is secant squared of x. We just calculated that. Now this 1 will just be 1, and multiplying by 1 doesn't really do anything. Now this negative says we have to divide, so that's 1 divided by tangent squared of x. That, and then the secant will go on top. We know that tangent of x is, well, sine divided by cosine, so we'll use that. And then we have to square it as well, so we do negative secant squared of x divided by sine over cosine squared Now this, we get this squared over here and over here. And then we can simplify that. I just move this cosine up here, and then this is not right. And we have to divide by sine squared of x. Now we also know that secant squared is 1 over cosine squared, and we have to multiply it by cosine squared, so that will just be 1. Negative 1 divided by sine squared of x. And we can write this down as negative cosecant of x, because cosecant of x is 1 divided by sine of x. And then I have to do it squared. In the same way, we can calculate the derivative of secant of x. So we know this. This is going to be negative 1 times cosine of x to the power of negative 2, multiplied by this derivative, this negative sine of x. Now the negatives cancel out. So we get 1 divided by cosine of x squared times sine of x. This is going to be sine of x divided by cosine squared of x. Now we know sine over cosine is tangent, but we've got cosine squared, so we'll just get 1 cosine out. Now we have to multiply by 1 divided by cosine of x. We know this is tangent of x. And we know that this is secant of x. As an extra challenge for you, try to use the same way to compute the derivative of cosecant of x. So I'll give you a hint. This cosecant of x is 1 over sine of x, so that's sine of x to the power of negative 1.